Hello guys, what is up? It's Totalxclipse here with a very quick guide on how to power factories from below. So this was specially requested by Pedro Gonsalez Nunez. I hope I've got your name right, but hopefully this will help you with your queries. So the first thing that we need to do here is actually build a factory. So we're going to be 2 minutes to build that, and then we'll get back into the video. So here we are with the factory, and the first thing that we're going to do is, and the joke is on me because I didn't build the factory tall enough. So we will be right back. So here we are with the factory. Now there are 3 things to bear in mind when you're powering constructors or any manufacturing plant from below. The first one is the type of constructor, whether it's a constructor, an assembler, or a manufacturer. Obviously, if we very quickly drop a constructor down next to an assembler, and we will go into this in a second, you can see that the placements are totally different for the power lines, and this can really affect how you do the manufactured lines being fed from below and powered from below. Now the next thing that we need to talk about is actually the walkways. So with walkways, there are multiple places you can place them that affect the placement issues of an underfed manufacturer line, and more importantly, where you're going to have to place your powered line subsequently. So for example, we have the middle placement. We also have the outer placement, and then we also have a combination on the side, which is this placement. And this is odd because it's in the middle, and so there's no place that you can actually get that connecting to these. If you see, there's this space cannot be occupied by that without very careful planning beforehand. Now this means that your placement for a walkway can differ hugely. So take for example here, now these ones are placed on the quarter of a foundation, so this block here, and it's going across. This means that we have a large space here, and we can't actually place another walkway closer. This gives us plenty of room to place power lines, and generally speaking, in regards to any underfed power management system, you're going to want to place it within 2 tiles, preferably, if possible, as close to the above manufacturer, constructor, assembler as possible. And the walkways in this way give this kind of approach. So if we look here, we can't place anything in between. However, it is possible using the side feature to get things to go in between, which gives this kind of boxed off appeal. Again, this is the same specifically on this build. You can place anything within these 2. This will change for the assembler, which we will go into in a second. Then there are people who go on the outside, which means things are a lot more closer. Again, if we place the power pole close to the wall and the constructor or assembler, we're going to have the least amount of clipping issues. And it's important to note that always place the power pole in this circumstance, or the power joint, on the side that is closest to the power point. Then if someone's gone all the way and done a combination of the 2 style, well, all 3 styles, you get this very tight look. And the only way you can do this, the only way you can power this from below, is by placing it in one of these 2 spaces. Either will do. Now the last thing that I want to talk about when it gets a little lighter is actually how the constructor or assembler manufacturing placement on the tile also affects the way that you need to power it from below. So we're going to quickly go out a little bit further with this factory so that you can see a little bit more in depth about how the factory placement affects the power as well. Right, so it's daylight, and the next thing that I wanted to talk about was constructor placement. Now notice how these constructors are one place slightly further away. This allows for the elevator to be much closer to the wall. However, subsequently we're unable to place a wall. Now the reason why this is potentially bad is that we now have unlocked the walled joints, and this makes it very difficult for us to use them. So you see, you can't place it if you don't have a wall, and therefore we're very much reliant the whole time on these power poles. And as you can see, providing you've placed it in this block or the one next, for any of these builds you will be safe from clipping. Do also make sure it's on the same side as the power joint. Here is a much tighter, I'd say, system. Now here you don't have railings because you can't build them, it's too close, and this means that here it is very, I mean, you've got tiny bits of clipping there. Even if we do it one step further away, we're still the same case. There's a tiny bit of clipping which might annoy you. In this case, you have either that option, which means that it goes through that kind of slight block there, this little gap, or the other option is, if we go over to this side, placing one of these, and this will allow us to bring the cable down, although you may not like that. I wouldn't count that as clipping as it's still on the same piece, but you can then bring this down. You can actually use this in several places, so if we do this one as well, so we can place it there or down to, say, here. I prefer them higher up the wall. Or on this one, if we try here, this might work as well. No. So for these ones, you do need to place them right next to the conveyor elevator. Now if we go downstairs, we will quickly talk about how you can connect these up underneath the factory. So here we have a very simple manifold design, and all along here, generally speaking, you're not going to want to place it on top of here unless you have much higher walls. So I do recommend that you bring it all in on one side. So for example, these will come to this one. If we have this one connected, in fact, let's very quickly just do them all. So I tried to keep them, if you'd seen our cable management guide, try and keep them on the same block, which as you can see here is in the middle. So we would bring all these cables to the middle and then one off the center. Now the important thing is that for every power pole you use, 2 of these down here connect. 2 separate power poles connect to a single power pole, and then we daisy chain it along again. So let's grab this one. Gonna run out of cables, I think, at this rate. But we're gonna just repeat this through. And when I'm building, generally I will go for the closest one against the wall. These days I do tend to, not all the time, but I do tend to use the wall mounts a lot more. So now that we've got to the walled section, we're going to quickly click this one into here. Same with here. We'll leave these ones as just a demonstration. They're in different positions, although I probably wouldn't use that one. But here it is important that we change the position for this, because this is obviously going to clip. Oh wait, I take that back. We're on the, so from here we're just going to move it across again, and as you can see the same rule applies. We're just going to bring them across. With here it's a bit of an issue, so we actually will swap this around. So they're now doing diagonals rather than connecting to the two next to each other, which means this one here, rather than connect to that one, would actually connect to this one and then that one. And just to continue, there we go, connect to that one, and then this one. And then once again, move it up on the same position, that one, and then it would be the one over there. So that is how to very basically set up a powered system underneath underfeeding manufacture lines. It's something that looks quite smart and neat. I mean, if we go upstairs, you can see this might not look great. I mean, it doesn't look bad looking at it. But if we go upstairs, again, despite all of them being set up slightly separately, slightly differently, they all look very neat, uniformed and clean, with all the power lines going below without any clipping. Not bad. However, this all changes once again when you use a different form of manufacturer. So the manufacturers, if I remember rightly, oh no, they've totally changed the manufacturers, so I can't actually judge on that one. But going on to assemblers, let's delete this and reset up. I'll be back in 2 seconds. So our next thing is the assemblers. Now these really are a pain. Now we've got them on two separate, so this one's flush against the wall, and then this one comes out a little bit. Now again, this one cannot have walls, whereas this side can, so it gives us two different options. Now the issue is that because the power line is all the way over here, that we're kind of stuck as to where we can put it. So your best bet is going to be to place this, I don't know if that'll work actually. I think we need to bring it slightly further, somewhere like that, and then take this down. Again, don't think we've got enough space. And from there, you would place that down there. Unfortunately, we can't get any closer, and this is what you're going to have to do on both. I tend to have mine quite separated when I'm building constructors, and for that reason it's not so difficult. How it would help if I deleted these. However, if you have it much closer, obviously you're not going to be able to use this section, so you either have to delete what's below. As you can see, here is clipping, so the only option would be to move this further inwards. So as you can see, if you're doing assemblers, you either have to do them if they're closely, if they have this kind of close barrier, then you'll have to use a connector to a pole, and then from the pole down to another one through the gap if you don't want any clipping. Or if there's a space, then you're going to have to push the pole further underneath the actual walkway. Now, as for this side, let me just cover that up. We do have the option of walls, wall joints. Now these are similar to the first one. We can move these up, place there, and then connect. And again, with this one, because there's so much space, you either have to pull the pole over to here for it then to connect with a wall mount, say here, and then connect underneath the same as we would with constructors, or you have to settle for having them separated with a space and then loading them this way, or you have to settle for having these directly underneath or as close to underneath the walkway. It would be underneath, this goes further back. So there you are, guys. Unfortunately, I cannot speak for the manufacturers because I haven't unlocked them yet, and I know they have a new look about them. But that is how I would recommend wiring underfed factories. So just bear in mind what kind of placement you're doing on the constructors or the assemblers, and also providing space for a power pole if necessary, or maybe moving the power pole onto the walkway in order to then move it underneath. So there you are, guys. That's all the ways that I could think of to help you bring the power down underneath your factories. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do drop a thumbs up on the video. And then if you want to see some more fails like that, then make sure to click the subscribe button. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely evening wherever you are, or day. And until next time, as always, ciao for now.